Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. My name's William and this is a Assetto Corsa Competizione. Today we're going to be driving the Audi R8 GT3 around the Nurburgring GP circuit. Uh, Typically start with the Audi. It's a good baseline. Car's really fast everywhere in my opinion, so we're going to start with it. And I really enjoy this track. I know it's a bit polarizing. I know it can be a little bit bland to some people, but I really enjoy this track, so I'm going to give it a go. As always, I'm going to have a hot lap for you and then talk over maybe some setup changes or tweaks you can make to potentially make it a little bit better or more suitable for your driving style if you don't like it exactly the way I drove it. So that'll be in the last part of the video if you want to check that out. As always, guys, if this helps you, um, feel free to share it with anybody. Also, giving it a like, um, subscribing, all that stuff really does help me out. I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, and I hope that it is helping you guys. And I want it to be able to help as many people as I can, honestly. So. I'll go ahead and shut up. We'll get on into the hot lap, and then I will be back with you guys to talk over the setups. So, enjoy. Alright everybody, that was a hot lap around Nurburgring GP in the Audi R8 GT3. We managed a 154.855. Definitely not a perfect lap. We'll go ahead and look at the timetable here. Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2, and then just a bit off purple in Sector 3. Messed up the final chicane a little bit. It is extremely tricky, and also you can see here about a 10th off, even though this was dirty. About a 10th off in Sector 2. That is the corner leading on to the back stretch after the Schumacher S's. Got a little bit of a wiggle on there, so definitely can go faster. I think ultimately in the right hands 54, low 54, definitely possible in this car. A lot of fun to drive. The last chicane is always a challenge. I really like this layout anyways. I know a lot of people, this track's a little polarizing, Nürburgring GP, but I'm a fan, so probably be doing a couple cars on here anyways. We'll go ahead and get into the setup. As always, I started with the aggressive preset for the Audi. Looking for basically 28 psi hot on the front, just slightly lower on the rear, but about 28 psi there as well. Took just a touch of the toe out of the rear. Really not much of anything else on this. You could probably get away with running a little bit more camber on the front, or maybe slightly a little bit more on the rear, depending on your track conditions, but you really need quite a bit of camber around this track, just because of the layout of the corners. I was running TC on 3. 2 is a little bit interesting on how it engages, and you can definitely get a bit of a slide on if you've got a heavy right foot. So 3 felt very safe, very consistent for me, and ABS on 1 really good on the brakes in this car. It's one of the things I really like about the Audi is the feeling on the brakes. So ABS on 1, TC on 3. These are very personal and dependent on your track conditions anyways, so feel free to mess with those. Brake pad compound front and rear on 2. Onto the suspension side of things, I moved the brake bias way back, 60.8. I really wouldn't go any lower than this. Just you start to really struggle. Losing the rear, kind of turning into some of the slower speed corners, especially sector 1, I believe. Turn 1 it's not so bad, but I think it's turn 3, and then turn 5, I believe, through there. It really starts to struggle if you're running it any lower, but any higher, and it is, well, you can go a little bit higher, but about, I think it started on 64%. It would just push straight. Really wasn't great for trail braking. The anti-roll bars are pretty notable on this. Any stiffer on the front, and I'm not even joking, I was losing at least 2 to 3 tenths through sector 1 with a stiffer front anti-roll bar. So anti-roll bar on 1 for the front, and lowered it as well to 1 on the rear. Feels really balanced in my opinion. The other thing on this car is the preload on the diff. 60 is a little bit free turning into the corner. That's kind of why on my Hotlap I had a bit of oversteer. As I said, out of this Schumacher S is the corner that leads onto the straight that leads you into the chicane. I really should know the name of the corner, but I don't. On 70, I could trail brake through there and not lose the rear, and on 60, the back end kind of wants to wiggle around a little bit if you're a little too enthusiastic with the brake or the turn in with the wheel. So it's very fine. Just a click here or there down loosens the car up on entry, and will reduce some of the oversteer on exit, and up will tighten the car up on entry and increase the rotation on the exit. So just one click here or there can really change the balance of the car. The other thing is the bump stop rates. This is basically just to handle the bumps in the last chicane. This is what I found to work the best, really soft on the front and a little bit stiffer on the rear. On the just default aggressive preset, it kind of pogoed through there really terribly, and trying to get everything else balanced out as well so that you can carry as much speed through corners like the Schumacher S, hit the curbs through there, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of compromise, but this was ultimately what I wound up with. On that same note, these are our dampers. Really nothing too crazy to talk about here other than keeping the fast bump pretty low. There's a lot of curbs that you kind of need to hop on or jump over or put the car on before you turn in around this track. And a soft, fast bump really helps you use the curbs a lot more than if it is stiffer, at least with the way we have the car set up everywhere else. But you need a bit of rebound in this car to kind of compensate for it. Otherwise, it just kind of bounces all over the place after it takes a curb strike. So you could see more fast rebound, quite a bit more fast rebound than the fast bump. It's primarily just to keep the car from pogoing after a curb strike. So you can play with that definitely for sure if you feel like it's still pogoing around. The last chicane's not necessarily a great indicator of that. It's more of like jumping onto the curb or off of the curb, turning to the Schumacher S, or in sector 1, some of those curbs you have to cut. If it's too harsh whenever you hit the curb, chances are your fast bump is too stiff. And if the car is pogoing around after you hop off the curb, or if you're kind of riding the curb for a while, if you hit the curb and set on it and the car is still bouncing around, your fast rebound is too soft. So it's just kind of a little trick there, or tip. And then onto the ride heights, I raised the nose up quite a bit. Like I said, I'm jumping onto some curbs, and this ultimately felt better, not to mention the last chicane. I cannot imagine that is exactly easy on the car through there, the way you kind of hop it and drive all over those curbs. And then on the rear of the car, increase the rear ride height just a little bit. So this is also extremely sensitive on this car, in my opinion. 66 feels a little neutral, maybe slightly hinting towards understeer, and 67 is kind of already in the oversteer. So 66 millimeters, the car just maybe slightly understeers. 67, you're getting oversteer, at least in my opinion. You can tweak things here and there to try and, like with the diff preload or something along those lines, to try and get the balance back to where you want it. There's many other tools you could use as well, but just as an example. But 66 I felt was ultimately the most comfortable, and running on 4-wing as well. 5-wing, I didn't really get a whole lot more out of it. Maybe someone else can, or maybe you need it for the security, but I think honestly 4-wing feels pretty good. There's not a lot of long straights around here or anything that you need to maximize your top speed, but thinking maybe that extra little bit of downforce if it's really slick conditions, or maybe like some rain or drizzle or something like that, it might come into play there. But anyways, guys, that is my setup for the Audi R8 at the Nurburgring GP. If you give this a try and have any feedback, or just want to let us know how you did, put it in the comments below and try and read them all. And I do appreciate any of the feedback, or just knowing that you guys are out there trying it and hopefully dominating some races, or something like that with these, or just having a good time, in all honesty. And yeah, as always, sharing this really helps. Giving it a like helps a ton as well. Sound like I'm a broken record on that one, but feel free to share it. That's what this is for. I want everyone to have a setup that they can actually drive around the track and at least be somewhat predictable. That's what I'm going for with these. I know I don't always necessarily hit the mark, and it might not be perfect for you. There are different driving styles and everything, so that's what I'm going for, and that's what I'm trying to do. I hope it does work for you guys. But anyways, guys, we'll be doing some more of this track. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.